Welcome to the Maggot Show! I am the one they call Maggot, but only in polite company. I was going to carry on reading the exciting drama of NATO's secret armies, so I'll do that before anything else. Oh, and this is an extended Maggot, a stretched Maggot, which hurts a lot. Don't believe what you read on the internet with the weights and the bricks attached. I won't go into details. We've also got a co-host today, Justin. He might chip in or whatever, or might not. I'm not pressurising him.
Yeah, I'm here possibly.
Yeah. Just give me a second while I find out.
I might be here, might not be. You never know. No, you never know.
Yeah. Okay.
So what's new, Maggot?
This and that. I'm just looking for my place, and I was reading this report on NATO's secret armies by Stephen Lendman. I got partway through it. Now I'm trying to remember where I was up to. I think I've got it. Okay, I'll start with the year 2000. Might as well. In 2000, the Italian Senate was more explicit, saying these massacres, these bombs, these military actions had been organised or promoted or supported by men inside Italian state institutions, and, as had been discovered more recently, by men linked to the structures of United States intelligence, meaning CIA mainly. I think I read this bit, which is good. It's good. Got a bit of overlap. Former director William Colby admitted in his memoirs that covert Western armies were a major CIA initiative begun post-World War II and restricted to the smallest possible quarter of the most reliable people in Washington and NATO to keep the initiative secret. Yet, once its existence was confirmed, the EU Parliament drafted a sharply critical resolution saying, "These organizations operated and continue to operate completely outside the law, since they are not subject to any parliamentary control, calling for a full investigation into the nature, structure, aims, and other aspects of these clandestine organizations. Will merit a slapper in the face with my glove." Didn't say that bit. Only Italy, Belgium, and Switzerland did them. Yeah, did them. The GHW Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, GHW, sounds like he's trying to sound like a car firm or something. Administration not commenting when it was prepared for war against Iraq, fearing it might harm its alliance. Gladio, however, was real, designed like Winston Churchill's British Special Operations Executive to help anti-Nazi resistance forces carry out insurgencies in occupied territories. I didn't realise she was any. Well, maybe officially the anti-Nazi resistance. Oh yeah, actually, anti-Nazi resistance would actually mean like resisting against the alternative to the Nazis. So sort of double speak for helping them. yeah. We don't want we only want the official resistance to the Nazis, and that way we can control both sides.
Exactly.
Yeah. After NATO's 1949 creation, or abomination, whatever, the so-called Clandestine Committee of the Western Union, CCWU, was secretly integrated into its operations by 1951, called the Clandestine Planning Committee, CPC. Then in 1957, a second secret army called Allied Clandestine Committee was established by NATO's Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, Sakir. 1957. That would have probably been like Jim Robinson's uncle. Only according to Lenny Bruce, but I didn't check it myself, but he was like Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the NATO forces in the 60s and stuff, around the time of the Doors. Jim Morrison, lead singer from the Doors.
Oh yeah. His father was Supreme NATO Commander, yeah?
His
I
uncle.
knew he was a big shot.
Yeah, I think it's either his father or uncle, yeah. Yeah,
I knew he was a big shot. Huh.
He was connecting
So
it to his
that explains his whole story, you know.
well, yeah, sort of rags to riches sort of fakery. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, oh, well, I'm just nobody. Yeah, I just got natural talent. Yeah,
No, you know what's crazy about the whole thing now is you got with Hendrix. You know he supposedly when he died, I think they I think they drowned him in alcohol somehow or
yeah, yeah,
forced it down his throat.
yeah,
It's pretty nuts, you know.
yeah.
They
Apparently, he's puking
being
up still in the van or something. I
yeah.
don't know what they did. They might have mixed in anything. If you know, any soluble poison, alcohol's poison anyway. I mean, he might have even been allergic to a sort of alcohol. I don't know, a sort of wine. He might have been like, oh, some people can't stand white wine. It makes them vomit. I don't know. It was the CIA. He was being handled by the CIA, and they know
Oh,
everything about.
definitely.
Yeah, they know everything about that sort of thing. So it's like, I don't know. There's so many things it could be. It's hardly worth speculating on it. He must be murdered though. But the question
Oh,
is
definitely
why?
murdered.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I'll tell you. You know why I think they murdered Hendrix? Because there was a guy who was a veteran.
yeah.
He was actually in the 101st Airborne in Vietnam,
Mhm.
and then he came back and he was resisting the war. He was also a black guy that people could look up to, I guess.
Yeah,
So they didn't want that type of thing back then. They didn't want any
Yeah.
resistors or anyone that actually didn't have dirt on, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, I thought at the time when I heard of his death, well, obviously he died before I was born or thereabouts. But I thought they just didn't want. Got loads of feedback. They didn't want a black hero getting too high up, you know. Just 'cause
yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, well, that's always been the point. But I think he was the only one really that out of the whole hippie generation that actually served. You
Yeah.
know, so that's also a big thing too, that he actually saw all that shit over there. You know, so
yeah, yeah.
you know,
So yeah, they didn't want him to become like this sort of like bard that was like too big and powerful for them to stop like giving anti-war messages and stuff.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, just like the rest. You know what, too, and he probably knew the game. He probably wouldn't be bought out. They probably tried to buy him out. He probably said no.
Well, that's it. Yeah, yeah. 'Cause he started out quite small and got quite big. I don't think he got as big as they make out, but in retrospect he was huge. But I don't know whether in his
Well, you know
lifetime
what?
he's actually.
I think when he was alive, actually, I think he was more of like an underground star kind of. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like all the hippies knew about him and stuff. Like because at Woodstock he got a hell of an ovation. But I don't think he was well known to he was not. I don't think he was on that Ed Sullivan or whatever.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they probably. I think they. I heard so many stories about that as well. I think they might draft him in at the last second just to fill in space, and they didn't know what he was going to do. A lot of people didn't actually know of him or his music, and so it was just a bit of fill in. But I mean, that sort of music's just gonna be perfect for that sort of thing, the druggies and stuff, and like that sort of like crazy music he plays. Yeah, at the time that would
Oh,
sound.
definitely.
Yeah, at the time that would sound really even more far out than it does today. It'd just be like totally
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
Yeah. Well, that was the psychedelic scene. That's what they call, the psychedelic scene. I guess they called it back then.
Yeah,
You know what's crazy is I found out. I believe it was Frank Zappa.
yeah,
He was he was very very controlled in all of the shit he was doing.
yeah,
People thought he was not none of the stuff. Of course they're all controlled, but I mean he was, I guess, one of the biggest ones that took that did everything they said pretty much. Everything he did was one of their inventions.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
He was a control freak himself, though.
Oh yeah, they're all controlled one way or another. It's just how much of the stuff are they actually allowed to write themselves, or how much are they actually allowed to. So who knows?
Mm-hmm. It's controlled opposition, isn't it? It's I don't know, face mask rebellion. Where you like do the appearance of being Johnny Rebel, but you're still part of the same system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even Abby Hoffman, supposedly, he even admitted it. Oh, if it wasn't for the Rockefeller money, but he actually back then the hippie movement was almost like the internet, I would say, because yet they fund it, and yet they put it out for us to know who we are.
Yeah,
Yet we're also doing counter damage by waking people up from it.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, yeah, I
that's
mean,
kind of
yeah, it's difficult to describe. Well, I just thought of a good way of describing it, but it's like an expanding spiral with barbs on it. It's sort of chaos theorem, really. And
yeah,
so you sort of like it. Oh, it's like magic where you create a spiral and it increases, increases, increases. They call it creating a cone of energy. And so you just concentrate on bringing out the same sort of drawing from the same source, and then you get all the spiral is just like the effect of time, and the as you keep on concentrating on like broadcasting the same idea, it basically diversifies. You see over the world, and so that's what they wanted. They wanted to spread the same message overall, which is like sort of like pseudo anarchy because that's what they want. Is they want to bring people to a state of anarchy so they can establish a new order over it.
exactly. Order
'Cause
out of chaos.
exactly. Because anarchy, I mean, used to have to listen to that when I was at school. People going on about how wonderful anarchy is, and it was like, oh, they haven't got any idea where their food comes from, or how to farm, or anything like that. They don't understand the essentials really of living for themselves. So
Yeah,
so it would be exactly that. I mean, you have all these anarchists like, yay, woo, yay, yay, and having sex in the streets and all that. And then you just like how loads of unwanted pregnancies, and then loads of people being like, oh, we can't feed ourselves anymore. And then they'll be looking towards the new form of government, which would be obviously a fascist government.
right. Well, that's the thing. Yes. Now that's the thing is that they want everybody to be poor. They want they want you under their control one way or another.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's
yeah. They control you
they want
by
you to have to go.
yeah.
What's that?
They control you either by giving you too much or too little.
Exactly.
They
Yep.
in the 60s, I got the impression there was little social control, and they would just like throw drugs at people. So it's like, yeah, just take as much as you want, whatever, anything you like.
Right.
It's all
Right.
free.
Yeah, because they didn't have the spy. I mean, they had some crazy shit, a lot more than we know about.
Yeah,
But back then, they didn't have the ability they have now to or facial database, to find anybody anywhere in the world. So I mean, back then it was kind of a free for all in one aspect.
yeah.
So
But they did have the same spy network that they have today. I mean, the people now are descendants from that era, and your spies would be more your face-to-face spies. It'd be like a woman listening at the wall or something, with a wine glass. And
right.
if you've seen the Prisoner series, that sort of thing, where everybody's like in on it to some extent. And they're all like being told to ask certain questions and stuff. I mean, that's like typical CIA and the related associations mind control. CIA got their ideas also from the Nazis anyway, didn't they? A lot of it.
Oh yeah,
originates from the Nazis.
yes, yeah. Well. Here's the deal with the CIA. From a lot of what I understand, the original CIA guys. I think it was one of the Dulles brothers.
Mm.
And I believe one of the Prescott Bush, or one of them, and we all know Prescott Bush is big with the Nazis. So that was that I think that was part of the thing where they just joined up, and actually they got most of their first guys from, well, they had the OSS or whatever it was, or but actually most of their guys were all Skull and Bones, the first ones.
Yeah.
So they were all they were all they were setting up an occult society.
Yeah, that's it. And then Prescott Bush's son, George Herbert Walker Bush, is the one who started up the CIA.
Right. Yeah. With the Dulles brothers, the ones they named the airport after, Alan Dulles and John Dulles, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a definite
But,
CIA Nazi connection, but there's just all information gathering, intelligence and stuff. I mean, they don't really care because it's like if somebody gives you an idea that works, it's the sort of mentality that says, I don't care where it came from.
Right. Well, you know what too is Operation Paperclip, obviously, where they brought all the Nazis over. I'm sure they brought all the scientists over. I'm sure they brought some intelligence officers over too.
Oh yeah.
You know what they did is they switched their papers saying they weren't ardent Nazis.
Yeah.
They switched it to say, oh no, they were just a regular guy who was and that's we got a lot of technology from them. So they were
Yeah.
they were ahead of everyone.
Yeah, I was told as well that Operation Paperclip. Well, I can't figure it out for myself, but I had it confirmed that even that is like just a cover story, and they just really didn't bother concealing the fact that they were transferring Nazis at all. And then this paperclip thing was given as an excuse afterwards. So they really didn't care. They really didn't care. It was like, oh,
Right,
we need
right.
this guy. It's like it's like at work or whatever when you got some guy who's like, well, they have it in loads of films as well. You got the Maverick, haven't you? Yeah, it's like the Maverick. I don't know, even like lawyer or whatever. And we gotta have this guy, and it's like he breaks all the rules, sort of thing. Even though he breaks all the rules, we have to cover for him.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. No, well, you know what it is. It's they what is it they say? Sacrifice, or sacrifice one for the for the good, or sacrifice a few for the good of them. Whatever.
Many, yeah, yeah.
I'm saying it a little backwards. I just woke up about 20 minutes ago.
Well, they use that in Star Trek as well. The good needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many sometimes, and sometimes the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Quite funny.
Wow.
Quite funny. It's total bollocks, but they do fit it to suit. It's quite funny because you had to watch
Yeah.
until
So,
like the third movie before they switched it around to switcheroo.
wow. So they were actually saying that for a while.
Oh yeah,
The,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So are you a Trekkie? Are you a Trekkie, Maggot?
Not at all. No, I like. No, well, it's a bit unfair. I mean, I like the original series.
Yeah.
With William Shatner in it. That was good. I like the
Yeah,
movies
I agree.
based on that, but not much of the other stuff. I thought the Borg was a bit silly.
Yeah, Deep Space Nine was kind of weird too. I don't know. I didn't really get into it too
No.
much. I know a couple people that did, but
No, Star Trek Voyager and all that, and even the Next Generation. That was all too much.
yeah, and I don't know. All the characters, they get fucking weirder and weirder and weirder. I don't know.
They really
Yeah,
are.
anyway.
They're more like the Borg themselves, like the officers and stuff. They've become more cardboard cutout and stereotyped. And they've all got like
Right.
they've all got like 20th century mental problems. Never mind. I'll continue with the article. It relied heavily on dedicated anti-communists. Yes, largely from the political right, including former Nazis and like-minded terrorists, operatives to weaken the political left and neutralise and defeat Soviet Russia. Are you getting loads of feedback? I'm getting loads of. Anyway,
Yes, so I think somebody else is on. I don't think they have it muted because I just muted it while you were talking. So I can hear somebody in the background.
yeah,
Like somebody's.
it's like an echo.
I'm gonna mute. Yeah, I'm gonna mute while you read your article to cut down on some of it. But somebody else doesn't have their shit muted.
No, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Operatives to weaken the political left and neutralise and defeat Soviet Russia, ostensibly in case of invasion, the chance which was practically nil. Italy's secret army. In researching right-wing terrorism, Judge Felice Casson discovered their link to the political right, and examples of their lawlessness. One instance was in 1972, when a car bomb killed 3 carabinieri, Italy's parliamentary police.
Carabinati.
Is that it? Carabinari. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, Carabinati. Actually, I had my grandfather's father was in the Carabinati.
Okay.
No, just a little factoid for you. Go ahead reading the article. I just forgot.
Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. I mean, I have to guess on the enunciation on some of these things. Wrongly blamed on the Red Brigades, like for other attacks carried out by extremist anti-communist groups, blamed on the left. Okay. Right-wing terrorist Vincenzo Vinciguerra was later charged with the Carabinieri killings, explaining at his 1984 trial that Italy's security apparatus supported his crimes, saying, "There exists in Italy a secret force parallel to the armed forces, composed of civilians and military men, in an anti-Soviet capacity, that is, to organize resistance on Italian soil against the Russian army." In fact, he revealed Gladio and its link to terrorism without naming it calling it a secret organization, a super organization with a network of communications, arms, and explosives, and men trained to use them. A 2000 parliamentary investigation concluded that operatives linked to the structures of United States intelligence, intelligence in lowercase in that one, lowercase I, were involved in bombings, massacres, and other terrorist attacks as part of a campaign against the political left. In 2001, General Giandelio Maletti, former Italian counterintelligence head, confirmed CIA's involvement to do anything to stop Italy from sliding to the left. Got to keep it to the right. It's basically right is fascism, left is communism. In the middle, you've got democracy in inverted commas.
You know what though, Maggot? I sometimes they always say this right and this left.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we know it's bullshit, but even when they say socialism and fascism are complete opposites, I don't really agree with that.
Oh no, they are connected. Yeah, I know. I was just explaining it. I was just reading it.
Right. No, I know, but I just want to interject real quick. It's almost like with the Nazis too. Now, they were called National Socialists.
Yeah.
That's pretty. That's communism. As well as I thought. It's fascism only because you have a leader telling you what to do. I'm not a political scientist or whatever, but shit that I've heard and there's my personal opinion. I think that's where they like to put things aside and put things in compartments.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, I know people. That's the way they explain it to people. Though you got left and right. Like we've got over here, we've got the Conservatives and the Labour Party. In America, they've got Republicans and Democrats. But it's really like a wheel, and it's really they you can do like on a wine glass. You can go on the wine glass to make it sing.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're just like they control all of it. The fascism, the communism. It's all just modes of governance that they use. It doesn't make any difference to them. There's no like a good system. It's the one they use at the time.
Right. Whatever they use to get their shit accomplished. Whatever they're gonna tell people. It's all. Yeah. I mean, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. You said it. Go ahead, Maggot.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, it still comes down to order out of chaos, because from their perspective, it's like people are chaos, basically chaotic. They got no minds of their own, blah 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 blah. Probably heard that stuff before, and they're the people providing order to it. But it can seem to get a bit more complicated when you look into the minutiae, the small details. But never mind. That's the overall picture, I think, of what they see themselves as. Okay, Turkey's secret armies. During the Cold War, Turkey guarded a third of NATO's borders with Warsaw Pact countries. Its counter-guerrilla secret army carried out some of the most sensitive missions, under the command of Turkish special forces, to organize resistance in case of a communist occupation. According to the then Turkish army commander, General Semir Sankar, America financed it, committing terror attacks against the political left, one of many occurring in 1977 in Taksim Square, Istanbul, during a mass May the 1st, May Day, trade union rally. Snipers on surrounding buildings killed 38 attendees, injuring hundreds more during a 20-minute rampage. Several thousand police on hand did nothing to intervene. Counter-guerrilla also engaged in torture, survivors later explaining their ordeal. Some became outspoken critics, but never got authorities to investigate their ordeal or expose other crimes. Spain's secret armies. From his Spanish Civil War victory until his 1975 death, Francisco Franco's fascist dictatorship ruled Spain, his government the embodiment of Gladio, according to early 1980s Prime Minister Calvo Soleto. In his book titled Gladio, its 1971-74 Italian commander Gerardo Serravalle. Gladio is the name for a Roman sword, but I just like the name Gladio. It sounds like gay. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's got quite a ring to it.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
The Gladio.
Yeah, the Gladio.
No, that's it.
like a glamour star, like a
Yeah.
one of those like Italian glamour models.
Well, yeah. Instead of Fabio, then the next one's gonna be I'm Gladio.
Yeah, that's
You
it.
know,
Yeah. I'm Gladio the warrior. Sort of like Hollywood style, yeah. Like in the old days, like the
Oh, yeah.
1950s ones, where they all just like stood around going, Gladio the happy killer.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. They always had fucking weird names back then too in their shows and movies and shit though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pretty fuck yeah. But you know what? I didn't realize it back then.
You were breaking up quite a bit.
Oh, what? Did.
Yeah, you broke up
Now,
about
hold on.
half a
Let me.
minute.
Good. Well, good, Maggot. It's your
Oh,
show. Good.
okay, yeah, okay. You broke up for a second. Anyhow, Gerardo Serravalle explained that Franco tried to establish contacts with NATO's secret army long before Spain became an official NATO member in 1982. However, its secret service wasn't interested in a stay-behind function, but wanted a tool for international control to neutralize leftist elements. Portugal's secret armies. Gladio was active in Portugal, the nation's press telling a national audience in 1990 about a secret network erected at the bosom of NATO. Oh dear. Financed by the CIA in the 1960s and 1970s. It was called Aginta Press, or Aginta Press, involved in assassinations and other terrorist acts internally and in Portugal's African colonies. A later Italian Senate inquiry learned that Yves Guérin-Sirac, a French secret warfare specialist, directed Aginta Press. In November 1990, Portuguese Defence Minister Fernando Nogueira insisted he knew nothing about it, saying no information whatsoever concerning any form of Gladio structure in Portugal. Italians had to confirm it, including Judge Guido Salvini, saying it conducted secret military operations during the Cold War to defend the Western world against the probable and imminent invasion of Europe by the troops of the Soviet Union and other communist countries. In fact, like other Gladio operations, it waged global war against the political left, killing thousands to defend privilege against beneficial social change. What remains ongoing today? It's true to say that remains ongoing today. America is its leading exponent. Greece's secret armies. In late 1944, Winston Churchill held a secret Greek army created to prevent leftists from gaining power, called by various names, including the Greek Mountain Brigade, the Hellenic Raiding Force, or Locos Orionio Catadromos, LOK. Field Marshal Alexander Papagos excluded almost all men with views ranging from moderately conservative to left-wing, assuring its members would be exclusively hard-right anti-communists. In 1952, Greece joined NATO and was fully integrated into its stay-behind network. The CIA and LOK reconfirming their mutual cooperation in a secret March 25, 1955 document. British journalist Peter Murtaugh later learning that. Okay, don't worry about having a full stop in that sentence. The raiding force doubled as the Greek arm of the clandestine pan-European guerrilla network set up in the 1950s by NATO and the CIA, which was controlled in Brussels by the Allied Coordination Committee. It was a stay-behind force against a possible Soviet invasion of Europe. It would coordinate guerrilla activities between Soviet-occupied countries and liaise with governments in exile. Governments in exile. I'd like to see a government in exile. That'd just be like really wacky. we need to control people, but we killed them all. Can you help us? According to former CIA agent Philip Hagee, it also served as a nucleus for rallying a citizen army against the threat of a leftist coup, each of several groups capable of mobilizing, carrying on guerrilla warfare with minimum or no outside direction. Agree also explained that paramilitary groups directed by CIA officers operated in the 60s throughout Europe, stressing that perhaps no activity of the CIA could be as clearly linked to the possibility of internal subversion. Evidence points to Locke's involvement in the Greek April 20th, 1967 coup, 1 month before national elections, likely to have overwhelmingly elected the left-leaning George and Andreas Papandreou, Centre Union. Under NATO's Prometheus plan, LOK took over the defence ministry. Tanks rolled through Athens, and rightist forces took control of communications centres, Parliament and the Royal Palace, arresting over 10,000. Many were later tortured and killed. Wow, this is in the 60s as well. Not in the Second World War. In 1990, the socialist opposition wanted a parliamentary investigation, denied by Public Order Minister Yanis Vassiliadis, saying there was no need to examine such fantasies, meaning what happened was justified. France's secret armies. Fearing a communist takeover, it was established post-World War II. Socialist Interior Ministry Edouard Depreux, looks like almost Edouard Depardieu, explained in June 1947 that towards the end of 1946 we got to know of the existence of a black resistance network, a secret army made up of resistance fighters of the extreme right, Vichy collaborators and monarchists. They had a secret attack plan called Plan Bleu, which should have come into action either towards the end of July or on August 6, 1947. Though public outrage closed it down, the military secret service, Service de Documentation Extérieure et de Contre-Espionnage, SDECE, under Henri Alexis Rivière, set up another, again fearing a Soviet invasion, more likely to prevent leftists from gaining power. The translation for the French is like quite obvious, really. I'm saying that, but it might not be. The Documentation Service of the Exterior and Counter-Espionage, and of Counter-Espionage. In the 1960s, early 1960s, it saw that the de Gaulle government as a threat. The de Gaulle, like Asterix de Gaulle, as a threat, like the communists, inciting some in the stay-behind network to initiate terrorist actions against his Algerian peace plan, later confirmed in 1990 by then French military secret service Admiral Pierre Lacoste. Even so, he felt the stay-behind network was justified, no matter its hard-right militancy. During his presidency, from 1981 to 1995, President Francois Mitterrand distanced himself from the initiative, saying in 1990, "When I arrived, it didn't have much left to dissolve. There only remained a few remnants, of which I learned the existence with some surprise, because everyone had forgotten about them." Italian Prime Minister Guido Andreotti, however, wasn't pleased by how Mitterrand dismissed France's involvement, saying that far from being shut down, France's secret army participated in a secret October 24th, 1990 ACC meeting in Brussels. Mitterrand refused to comment. Germany's secret armies. In 1990, when learning about Germany's secret army, socialist parliamentarian Hermann Scheer called for an investigation at the highest levels, saying, "The existence of an armed military secret organization outside all governmental or parliamentary control is incompatible with the constitutional legality, and therefore must be prosecuted under criminal law." Later he stepped back after learning that socialists knew and suppressed it. At the same time, press reports claimed right-wing extremists, including former Nazis, were part of a secret army called Organisation Gehlen. ORG later changed to BND. named for WW2 General Reinhard Gehlen, head of Eastern Front Intelligence. He was later recruited by America to establish an anti-Soviet spy ring, and by West Germany to head its intelligence. According to a former NATO intelligence official, Gehlen was the spiritual father and stay behind in Germany. His role known to the West German leader Konrad Adenauer from the outset. On September 9, 1952, former SS officer Hans Otto told Frankfurt police that he belonged to a political resistance group, the task of which was to carry out sabotage activities and blow up bridges in case of a Soviet invasion, adding that while neo-fascist tendencies were not required, most members had them. In addition, financing was provided by an American citizen named Sterling Garwood. Otto said the initiative was codenamed Technischer Dienst des Bundes Deutscher Jugend (TDBDJ), commanded by Erhard Peters and financed by the CIA. It had a blacklist of lefties, leftists, I like saying lefties, to be assassinated in case of an emergency. That's always a good thing when you start an organisation, is to organise which commie bastards you're going to kill in order to get credibility. Perhaps manufactured ones to do it anyway. Though officials like August Zinn, Hessen state prime minister, were outraged and wanted members investigated, the highest Karlsruhe court, Bundesgerichtshof, I think, ordered all TDBTJ members released. Zinn believing the only legal reason was that they acted in response to America's direction. Austria's secret armies. In 1947, Austria's first secret army became known when a right-wing stay-behind network was discovered. The so-called Suchek-Rosner conspiracy resulted in a number of arrests. Suchek and Rosner testifying that they had recruited and trained right-wing partisans to prepare for a Soviet invasion, insisting Washington and Britain had full knowledge and approved. Nonetheless, both men were convicted and sentenced to death in 1949, yet were mysteriously pardoned by Chancellor Theodor Korner, perhaps following CIA orders. Thereafter, senior Austrian officials approved of a stay-behind army and began cooperating with the CIA and MI6. Franz Olah set one up, code-named Österreichische Wundersport und Geselligkeitsverein, OWSGV, later saying special units were trained in the use of weapons and plastic explosives. His prime motive was to prevent a leftist takeover, explaining, "It wasn't our intention to fight communism in the Soviet Union, but fight against internal leftist elements. We took weapons. We also had modern plastic explosives that were easy to handle. I had a small arsenal of weapons in my office. There must have been a couple of 100,000 people working for us. Only very, very highly positioned politicians and some members of the Union knew about it." In 1996, the Boston Globe revealed the existence of secret CIA arms caches in Austria. President Thomas Klestil and Chancellor Franz Vranitzky, something like that, insisting that they knew nothing about it or the existence of a secret army. Clinton State Department spokesman Nicholas Burns called their aim noble, admitting that similar networks had operated in other European countries. In August of 2001, G.W. Bush appointed Mr. Burns, yes, Montgomery Burns, U.S. Permanent Representative to NATO, where he headed the Combined State Defense Department U.S. mission and coordinated NATO's response to the 9/11 attacks. Switzerland's secret armies. Despite its neutrality, a 1990 parliamentary investigation revealed a secret stay-behind army, codenamed Special Service, SS again, then P26, operating within. It's codenamed Special Service, but is that in the Swiss language? No idea. operating within the Swiss military secret service Untergruppe Nachrichtendienst und Abwehr (UNA) during most of the Cold War. Yet Switzerland experienced no terrorist attacks or coup threats throughout the period. So why the need for extremism? Parliamentary Commission Senator Carlo Schmidt said he was shocked that something like this went on, calling it conspiratorial, like a black shadow. A judicial investigation headed by Judge Pierre Cornu was charged to learn if Swiss neutrality was violated. Evidence confirmed that P26 cooperated closely with Britain's MI6 and other UK intelligence, concluding, however, that no Swiss laws were broken, or Swiss cheese either. Whether or not true, Belgium's secret armies. There's a general theme in all these headlines. On November 7, 1990, Socialist Defence Minister Guy Coim told a national TV audience that a NATO-linked secret army operated covertly throughout the Cold War, adding, I want to know whether there exists a link between the activities of this secret network and the wave of crime and terror which our country suffered from during the past years. A parliamentary investigation followed. Belgium Senate confirming that its secret army consisted of two branches. Yes, two branches of sticks, called SDRA-8 and STC-MOB. The former a military unit within Belgium's military secret service general. Yeah, stroke is in like the forward slash, I should say. The Renseignement SGR under the Defence Ministry. Its members were trained in unorthodox warfare, combat, sabotage, parachute jumping, and maritime operations. STC-MOB was part of the civilian secret service, Sûreté de l'État, under the Ministry of Justice. Its members were technicians trained in radio operations and intelligence gathering under enemy occupation conditions. While senators obtained good information on the stay-behind army structure, they learned little about their involvement in terrorist operations, including so-called Brabant massacres from 1983 to 1985, killing 28 and injuring many more. Despite exerting enormous pressure, they never got names of key operatives or who carried out the Brabant terror. Netherlands secret armies. Like Belgium, it had two branches. One called Operations O for short, directed by Louis Einthoven, a staunch anti-communist, to carry out sabotage, guerrilla operations, and building a local resistance. The other was called Intelligence, or I, so you got O and I, off and on. Established post-World War II by Jim Sommer, but led by J.J.L. Baron van Linden. Responsible for intelligence gathering and dissemination to those with a need to know. Oh, hierarchical dissemination of information then. Dutch parliamentarians weren't happy about keeping them out of the loop, but never ordered investigations into what was clearly an abuse of power. Luxembourg secret armies. On November 14th, 1990, Luxembourg's Prime Minister Jacques Santer told his parliament, all the NATO countries in Central Europe have taken part in these preparations, and Luxembourg could not have escaped this international solidarity, explaining that the Service de Renseignement, its secret service, ran the network in peacetime but wasn't linked to terrorism or other abuses of power. Denmark secret armies, codenamed Absalon. E.J. Harder led it, an unnamed network member, explaining, there were 12 districts structured according to the cell principle, but not as tightly organised as during the war. Also, there were no alleged terrorist links. Yet another member said its mission was to act in case of a Soviet invasion, as well as prevent leftists from gaining power, both called a clear and present danger. So yeah, I mean, the biggest thing you've got to worry about after the fascists try and conquer the whole of Europe and duff up loads of Europe anyway, is the sunrise in communists. So obviously in the name of furthering democracy, you've got to bash these communists before they come out, with an anti-communist line, which just happens to be fascism, because it's a militant thing. So yeah, it wasn't helping continue on with the whole Second World War from the Nazi perspective or the German perspective at all. No, nothing to do with it, just coincidental. Norway's secret armies. After European secret armies became known in 1990, journalists asked Norway's defence minister for an explanation. Its spokesman Erik Senstad saying only that they were essential to the country's security, codenamed Rokenboll. It was run by Norway's Secret Service, NIS. Its philosophy, based on the lessons learned during the German occupation, to prepare for a potential future one. And like elsewhere, to prevent leftists from gaining power. There you go. I mean, it's like another way of saying it's like prepare, like warming up the country for more of the same. Same fascism. Cooperation with the CIA, MI6, and NATO was intense. Yes, this is Norway, but not without controversy. One example being NATO ordered intelligence conducting an anti-NATO Norwegians with strong pacifist convictions. Can't have any pacifists. Not in peaceful times. No pacifists after a war. Clearly, Norway's sovereignty was breached. Enough to get Brigadier Simon, Chief of NATO Special Forces branch, to apologise and promise to end these type of operations. Sweden's secret armies. Sweden's Säkerhetspolis, SAPO, its security police, helped recruit it, working with Britain's MI6 to learn how to use dead letterbox techniques to receive and send secret messages, as well as intelligence gathering and ways to deal with emergency situations. Swedish officials never provided details, denied any link to NATO or CIA, but the agency's operative, Paul Gabler, he garbles all the message, explained that Sweden was a different participant in the network, adding, "I'm not able to talk about it without causing the Swedes a good deal of heartburn." Or is that getting a good deal of heartburn from meeting Swedes? We may never know. Clearly suggesting disturbing abuses of power, possibly including the 1986 assassination of Prime Minister Olof Palme, a staunch anti-nuclear proponent wanting Scandinavia freed from nuclear weapons. He was probably killed by a DU bullet. Finland's secret armies, as the only Western European country invaded by the Soviet Union during the so-called Winter War, November 30th, 1939 to March 13th, 1940, Finland lost 20% of its forces and 16,000 square miles of territory. It's why Finns sided with the Nazis, that's an excuse, to regain its land and prevent this happening again. During the Cold War, Finland's border with Soviet Russia was guarded by fences, landmines, and regular patrols. Also, a secret Western-linked resistance organisation existed, made up largely of retired Finnish army officers, armed, trained, CIA funded and equipped, and ready to respond in case history repeated. So it's basically like Nazis did all this stuff, or Germans, whatever, did all this stuff. Well, it was really Nazis all over Europe, bashed everybody up, and so gradually turned things more fascist. And then, in order to prevent fascism from winning, they made sure everybody was fascist by getting loads of funding from the CIA in America. So it was like, this is how the Americans help us win the Second World War, but it's like, who's us? It's not the Allies in the traditional sense. It just always seems to be a bit one-sided in retrospect when you look at it. CIA funded and equipped and ready to respond in case history repeated. Secrecy was extremely tight. No one talking about what they did or why. Even Finland's government was kept out of the loop. A final comment. Yes, it's almost the end of the article. Until made public in 1990, Western Europe's secret armies remain a closely held secret to defend capitalism against communism and the political left. individual countries having discretion on their operations. Some mainly or entirely stay behind, others involved with terrorism. The former group included Denmark, Finland, Norway, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Austria and the Netherlands. In contrast, Italy, Turkey, Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, Belgium and Sweden actively engaged in terrorism, including against their own citizens, to height fear. America, to this day, is the world's leading state-sponsored terrorism exponent, at home and abroad. CIA, FBI and Homeland Security operatives are in the lead, putting a myth to their abiding by the rule of law, of our nation espousing democratic freedoms, human rights, civil liberties and equal justice. What only an aroused public can stop if awakened to the danger and acts. I didn't understand that sentence much. The guy who wrote this it's called Stephen Lendman. He lives in Chicago, and he can be reached at LendmanStephen, one word, at sbcglobal.net. Various other stuff about him. Blah blah blah. Let's post a link to the article. Yeah, so events.com/general92/natos.htm. It's a link to the short story. Okay, now we go back to Pope. Oh yes. The BBC article. This is not from the 1960s. This is for today actually. Pope visit. 6 men held over papal terror alert. A 6th man has been arrested in London by police in relation to a potential threat to Pope Benedict XVI's visit. I thought the Pope was immune to all physical violence, however. All 6 who were street cleaners who had taken to a London police station. It's revenge of the Dick Van Dykes. He's a chimney sweep. I'm looking at a photo of him there. You know, it's a chimney sweep in the Mary Poppins thing. The BBC's Danny Shaw said the arrests were carried out as a precaution. Police are searching a number of premises. At least 5 of the men were not British nationals. The cleaners work for Veolia Environment Services, a major contract cleaning company that works for Westminster Council. Armed officers arrested the first 5 men at the company's Chiltern Street depot, Paddington, as they were preparing to go on shift. In a statement from Scotland Yard, the Metropolitan Police said that the men had been arrested in a Terrorism Act 2000 operation launched by officers from the Force's Counter-Terrorism Command. All 6 men were arrested on suspicion of the commission, preparation or instigation of acts of terrorism. They are 26, 27, 29, 36, 40 and 50 years old, and most are understood to be Algerian. Police are continuing to search 8 residential premises in North and East London and 2 business premises in Central London. Officers have not found any hazardous items. In a statement, the Metropolitan Police said, "Today's arrests were made after police received information following initial inquiries by detectives. Following today's arrests, policing arrangements for the papal visit were reviewed, and we are satisfied our current policing plan remains appropriate. The itinerary has not changed. There is no change to the UK threat level." He hasn't actually said what they've done yet. It might never do. The current official threat level in the UK is severe, which means that security chiefs believe a terror attack is highly likely. The BBC understands that the information acted on by the police was received by Scotland Yard and did not involve intelligence gathered by MI5, the Domestic Security Service. Pope calm. Reacting to the first 5 arrests, Father Federico Lombardi hissed. The Pope's press spokesman said the Vatican was totally confident in Scotland Yard and the ability of its officers. The papal team had no direct information about the police operation, he said, adding that the Pope remained calm and had been welcomed warmly everywhere he had gone. The police have already said that the information demonstrated that there is no need to change the program. Okay, yeah. In the statement, Dr. Leith Penny of Westminster City Council said, Veolia and Westminster City Council work closely with the relevant authorities to constantly ensure that all the people working on their behalf are subject to right to work checks as prescribed by the Home Office to assess their eligibility to work in the country. We are confident that these checks are robust, and we will continue to work with the police and other authorities during this investigation. Policing bill. The UK's top police officers from England and Scotland spent months planning the security arrangements for Pope Benedict XVI's visit to the UK. These plans include threat assessments, standard arrangements covering the safe transport of significant public figures, and the potential need to control crowds during the visit's major events. In all, the policing bill for the visit is expected to top £1 million. The BBC's Emily Buchanan, who was with the Pope at his visit to an assembly of children at a Catholic college in West London, described the security around the Pope as extremely high, with no lapses. Another one of Pope in BBC, papal visit, Pope Benedict in London. Warning, Pope Benedict in London. Warning, warning, Pope approaching. Streets evacuated. Beware, my holy might! The Pope has warned, there you go, he's warning you, that religion, and Christianity in particular, is being marginalised around the world. His comments came in his keynote speech to UK MPs, senior members of British society and religious leaders at Westminster Hall in central London. Pope Benedict XVI warned that there were some people who wanted to see the voice of religion be silenced. He returned to the subject in a later service at Westminster Abbey, asking Christians to talk about their faith. BBC correspondent Peter Hunt described the speech at Westminster Hall as a rallying call and a plea for religion not to be squeezed out by secular society. I was just checking the chat room. The Pope was speaking as a sixth man was arrested at counter-terrorism detectives investigate an alleged threat to Pope Benedict XVI's visit. In his speech at Westminster Hall, the Pope called on those in attendance to seek ways to promote faith at every level of national life. He added, I cannot but voice my concern at the increasing marginalisation of religion, particularly of Christianity, that is taking place in some quarters, even in nations which place a great emphasis on tolerance. There are those who would advocate that the voice of religion be silenced, or at least regulated to the purely private sphere. There are those who argue that the public celebration of festivals such as Christmas should be discouraged, in the questionable belief that it might somehow offend those of other religions, or none. Deep friendship. Earlier the Pope met the Archbishop of Canterbury, Dr. Rowan Atkinson, no, it's Dr. Rowan Williams, at Lambeth and Butler Palace. No, it's Lambeth Palace. It comes at a time when Anglican moves towards appointing women bishops have unsettled relations with Rome. But the Pope said he wanted to focus on the deeper friendship between the two churches rather than the deep differences. The Lambeth Palace meeting marked the first time a Pope has met the Archbishop at his official residence. It was viewed as an important event more than 40 years after official talks began about possible reunification of the two churches. Divisions remain over Roman Catholic opposition to the ordination of women priests. Meanwhile, the Church of England's General Synod left the way open for appointing women bishops at its meeting in July. The Vatican angered many supporters of women's ordination by describing it as a grave crime to be dealt with in the same process as sex abuse, although it denied it was equating the two. I just had to read it a bit slowly. I was reading it out and I was reading it with my eyes at the same time, a bit slowly, like rereading it. Yeah, yeah. So having women inducted into the church is as bad as sex abuse, I think. Fine, nobody's got a problem there. Dr. Williams said in his opening remarks that the Pope was most welcome at Lambeth Palace, and the Pope was really annoyed at him taking a mickey out of his Italian voice. He then praised the Pontiff's consistent and penetrating analysis of the state of European society. As the Pope left Lambert and Butler's Palace with like 2,000 packets of fags to travel the short distance to Westminster Hall in his Pope-mobile, thousands of people lined the streets. At one point he stopped the vehicle to eat a baby that was handed up to him. True happiness. Earlier, the Pope led an ensemble of 4,000 Catholic school children in West London. I bet he did. He used his address at St Mary's University College in Twickenham to say that the safety of children was vital in all schools, an apparent reference to the church's child abuse scandal. He also warned against the limitations of celebrity and science. The Pontiff told the crowd young people were often encouraged to model themselves on celebrities. He said, "My question for you is this. What are the qualities you see in others that you would most like to have for yourselves? What kind of a person would you really like it to be? Would you like it to be as cool as me? You must wear better shades. I am asking you not to be content with second best." He went on to say having money or a successful career was not enough to make people happy, but true happiness could be found in God's arse. Tight security surrounded the event, called the Big Arse Assembly, and monks and nuns who had waited in long queues were frisky when looking at police. Around 100 protesters against the Vatican's record on gay rights, equality and birth control had gathered ahead of his arrival amid tight security. The Church saw it as an opportunity to celebrate the work of more than 2,000 Catholic schools across the UK in partnership with the state. But critics said it could fuel hostility to faith schools and serve as a painful reminder of the child abuse scandal within the Catholic Church. Yeah, the reminder of the pain, I think, is the pain. BBC article, pair guilty over illegal internet sperm company. 2 men have been found guilty of illegally making sperm available over the internet. Ricky Gage, 49, and Nigel Woodforth, 43, from Reading, operated Fertility First, which made sperm available from anonymous donors without a licence. The men had denied 3 counts of procuring sperm illegally under the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Act. This story is so bizarre. I just don't know what to make of it. They were granted conditional bail, but the judge warned them that she was considering a prison sentence and fine. The judge is a woman. The men will be sentenced at Southwark Crown Court on 24th September. At the start of the trial, the pair had argued that their company was simply an information site, which acted as an introduction database, meaning that they were not procuring or making sperm available. Medical tests. But jurors heard a list showed 792 deliveries had been made by the company, which helped make the men an estimated income of £250,000 between October 2007 and November 2008. It is the first time Anyone has been prosecuted under the Human Fertilization and Embryology Act 1990. The men were reported to the Human Fertilization and Embryology Authority after one of their clients complained about their unprofessional standards. I don't know. I suppose you've got to be like you're married to some guy. He's got crap sperm or something, low sperm count, or he's got loads of money, but he's a real twat or whatever. Then so you want to get like celebrity sperm or like sperm from somebody like a bit more powerful than them. I suppose that's why they do it. It's really bizarre. I mean, the only reason you've got for doing that is like the money. You know, you're staying with them for the money. So it was just really sort of petty. Never mind. Melissa Balla Pentley was hoping to have a baby with her partner when she ordered the sperm through the Fertility First website set up by Gage and Woodforth. Miss Balla Pentley paid the men £380 in total and another £150 for courier delivery and the sperm donor's expenses. You're paying that much money for a little tiny tube. However, she contacted the company when a copy of the donor's medical test was sent to her with his name visible. And what can you do? Like, if they give you the sperm of a tramp and say it's the sperm of I don't know, like a prince or something, and a Saudi prince, you know, and you got to wait like 20 years or something. You're like, the guy's a twat. He ripped me off 20 years ago. He's an absolute knob. Rubbish. Under the 20 years later, they'll just be away somewhere. They'll be in the Bahamas. Under the HFEA's Act, the firm should have had a license, and they'll say, "Oh, what's wrong with that? You know, he was going to be that way anyway, or something." You know, it's just totally bizarre. The law was brought in to ensure that both donors and women wanting to conceive had access to information and counselling, and to help protect against the risks of diseases, including HIV. The website run by Gage and Woodforth, which promised women a life-changing opportunity towards motherhood, boasted of having more than 300 donors nationwide at a 37% success rate. Clients were allowed to choose the ethnicity, height, hair colour, education, and even hobbies of the sperm donor. Hobbies wanking. Following the verdict, Professor Lisa Jardine, chair of the HFEA, said, "Getting access to fertility services can be difficult, and there can be some very strong emotional pressures when trying to start a family. But unlicensed internet sites like these are exploiting women. This is a victory for those women." Well, they just like pick better husbands if they're so brainy and powered. Craziness. Doing some scan the headlines. I seem to cover most of them. Do I really want to read an article saying blood test accurately predicts death from prostate cancer up to 25 years in advance? Oh, I started it. It's in the left.org. Don't know what that is. New York, September 14th. A blood test at the age of 60 can accurately predict the risk that a man will die with it from prostate cancer within the next 25 years, according to researchers at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York and Lund University in Sweden. The findings published today online in the British Medical Journal could have important implications for determining which men should be screened at the age of 60 and which may not benefit substantially from continued prostate cancer screening. The study analysed blood samples from massive amount 1,167 men born in 1921 that were collected between 1981 and 1982 as part of the Malm Preventative Project in Sweden. All men were carefully followed until they had reached 85 or had died from being chased. After studying various biomarkers, the researchers found that the PSA level was a highly accurate predictor of long-term risk. They were doing the Running Man on these people, just chasing them around. Chase the old man. PSA testing has been recommended for the early detection of prostate cancer for many years. However, this new data suggests a baseline PSA could determine who should and should not continue to be screened for prostate cancer. Whatever. I'm bored of that one. I don't really believe in cancer. Depressed heart patients at risk. BBC article. Stress and depression experts with a capital E, so you've got to take them seriously, studied the physical and mental health of 6,000 people over several years. The combination of depression and coronary heart disease in a patient could be much more deadly than either condition alone, researchers say. Yeah, to me, cancer is a psychosomatic illness, and it can even spread to animals from humans, along with other stupid illnesses that the people have invented out of their own neuroses. It's like demons supposedly infesting the body. That's it in a nutshell, really. French and British experts say people with both conditions could be 4 times more likely to die from heart or circulatory disease. The study in Heart Journal tracked the mental and physical health of 6,000 middle-aged people over 5 years. Experts said doctors must pay more heed to depression in heart patients. Experts from the University College London and the University of Versailles followed the health of just under 6,000 male and female civil servants for the average of 5.5 years. The volunteers were taking part in the British Whitehall Study 2, which is looking at social and economic factors in long-term health. Exercise. They found people with heart disease alone had a 67% higher chance. That's always funny when they say 67%. That means they studied 3 people, and 2 out of the 3 had a higher chance. That means they only studied 3 people. Yeah, I suppose the heart. There's like a 90% probability that they only studied 3 people, and 2 of them came up right. Dying from any cause, and those without either heart disease or depression. The combination of heart disease and depression tripled the risk of death from any cause and quadrupled the risk of dying from cardiovascular disease. It's just like you just see from this is like the amazing genius of humans. It's so incredible because they already knew that your heart rate goes down when you're depressed as opposed to when you're excited. You know, it's like excited and relaxed, and excited and in contrast depressed as well as relaxed, and it's like your heartbeat slows down, you sort of like pump less blood, and so yeah, people with heart disease are going to suffer from depression. They must have known that for like 50 years. They must have known that since they first started studying the heart. But now they got another exciting new survey because they've got to keep on funding these people, these amazing students. Oh, they're so clever. Amy Thompson, a senior cardiac nurse at the British Heart Foundation, which partly funded the study, said, "This study builds on previous research which suggests that depression is linked to coronary heart disease. Enjoying regular exercise and eating a healthy diet can help if you are feeling low." That was a bit of news from the Pope. Recommendation from the Pope. So, good news for your mental health as well as your heart health. Obviously, if you're not pumping blood around the body, you're not going to get to your brain, are you? Come on. Whether or not you have heart disease, if you feel depressed, it's essential to talk to your doctor. Or just like run around for half an hour or something. Just go on a big jog. No, some idiot with credentials on their name saying something rather boring. Oh, this is one I wanted to read out. Daily Mail article, dailymail.co.uk. First artificial human ovary could mature eggs outside the body. Women unable to have children have been given fresh hope after scientists developed the world's first artificial ovary. They should be like despairing because it means that it might become unnecessary. Obsolete, that's the word. The researchers say their breakthrough could help thousands who became infertile from chemotherapy or other treatments which damage the reproductive system. Yeah, you'll have like force-grown babies in pods. Yeah. The ovary was grown in a laboratory using cells from women of normal childbearing age. They then inserted human egg cells to test if it was capable of helping them to develop until they were ready to be released into the womb. A surgeon uses a laparoscope inserted through the abdominal wall to harvest a woman's ova for IVF. Scientists may now be able to mature eggs outside the body. Once the egg was inserted, the scientists found that the ovary treated the egg cells just as it would naturally in a woman's body. The artificial organ was then able to help the eggs develop into their fully mature stage, the point at which they would then be released into the womb to be fertilized. The team says its discovery, published in the Journal of Assisted Reproduction and Genetics, could help thousands of cancer sufferers who become infertile through treatment. Women about to undergo chemotherapy could have their mature eggs frozen and later implanted into the artificial ovary if they wanted children. You see, these all like these. I don't know what they call it, like soft lead-ins or something. They're giving you like nice examples. Oh, that's nice. I know somebody like that, and so on and so forth. But it is so they can just like extract eggs from like 14-year-old girls, and then like, oh, we don't need you anymore, and like force grow these children outside the womb. They don't need, you wouldn't need them after that. You'd just be a source of eggs, and that'd be it. But you wouldn't even need to worry about the women getting pregnant because that'd be a thing of the past. You'd have, it's like the iron womb policy I mentioned a few times, I suppose, where the children are brought up totally separated from the parents. I mean, they don't even know what the parents are. So these are the stuff that's gradually bringing in. I know I read it. I thought it was in Caves of Steel by Isaac Asimov, but maybe I was reading a secret document. It's not impossible. Hidden in the library. The US scientists from Brown University on Rhode Island also said the artificial organs could be used to help discover why some women find it difficult to conceive. Well, they could be, but they're not going to bother finding out that, are they? Sandra Carson, they'll just say, rubbish genetics. Professor of obstetrics and gynecology, said that the very, very new research was a breakthrough for egg development in the lab. Yeah, like Invader Zim was born out of a iron womb policy. He had that lifestyle as well, being brought up. He just like dropped out of a. He just is force grown in a pod and like plucked out. Thousands of women undergoing chemotherapy and radiotherapy face the heartache that the treatment will leave them infertile. The powerful anti-cancer drugs and therapies often destroy the cells that surround the eggs in the ovaries, ruining any chance of women having children. In recent years, they have been offered help by research showing that eggs can be successfully grown in a lab. The breakthroughs also raise the prospect that women will one day use the techniques to sidestep their menopause, delaying motherhood for the sake of their careers. Yeah, they'll just like store their eggs up over their lives, and then when they enter the menopause, they'll like have these babies grown from using their like 20-year-old eggs and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. Just checking for messages. Oh, never mind. Okay, so 1 minute to go. It's got amazing nuclear explosion or something nice like that. Just checking for any sort of RSF. Last headlines. Just checking the sun. In the sun. Woo! And the sun exploded.